Right, let's look at other news now. So the Jozi My Jozi movement wants to clean up the Joburg CBD in partnership with the City of Johannesburg. Now, among its goals, Jozi My Jozi says it aspires to ignite hope and instill pride in the city. Joining us to tell us more about this initiative, we are joined by Melusi Mhlungu, who is Chief Creative Officer at Jozi My Jozi. Melusi, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Jozi My Jozi sounds very cool, but what is it exactly and what are you doing?
I'm glad the first words were Jozi My Jozi sounds cool, because I think what Jozi My Jozi is it's a brand that we wanted to create in terms of so just a quick background. So I was living in New York and I was in the States for about 8 years, and I got the phone call to come back home and be a part of this initiative, but there was no brand per se. So my background is in marketing and advertising. And so I came up with this brand called Jozi My Jozi, which is basically an ode to the city that, I love, a city that made me. And that's why you'll hear like a little bit of repetition. It's almost like a poetic term of endearment. This is Jozi My Jozi. But I think in that, it's also a matter of a brand that is for the people, by the people. And that's why the My it's take ownership. People can take ownership of the brand, and nobody actually owns the brand. So Jozi My Jozi and like just our vision and our mission is basically a movement that is aimed to be a catalyst for change. We are a super connector between the people who are willing to do good, because if you see not just in Joburg but in South Africa as a whole, people have got no shortage of the will to do good, but sometimes they don't know where to go and where to direct that energy, right? So I'm talking about individuals and even to some aspect corporate. So Jozi My Jozi is a super connector between the corporate to an everyday people of Jozi to create sustainable, innovative solutions to help rebuild the inner city.
It's a tall order. I mean, you've got to think about the fact that you're talking about a CBD that has seen horrific things. You look at just the past 12 months, for instance. We've had a gas explosion in the Joburg CBD. You've had a fire, an underground fire that almost collapsed the M1 that connects into the Joburg CBD. So when we talk about the revival of it, perhaps you need to talk about where the low-lying fruit is that you see.
So, like you're right, it's a tall order, and I think with a program with an ambition this big, you need collaborators. You need to hold hands with people. So we've got this thing where we call the brand, it's a doing brand. Our brand is a verb, right? So not look at it as like, oh my goodness, so many bad things going wrong, because there'll be problems every day and we'll never get started. So our thing is, let's look at the precincts that are actually working. And then through small changes and small actions, we actually start to grow those precincts that are working. And then you kind of, affect the other areas around it that actually might not be working. So what we're doing is like the city acupuncture plan, in terms of like go to the city districts that are working, and then like just try and spread it and spread whatever works in that district, and then sooner or later those districts are all going to like meet, and that's what we mean by super connector, making sure that the city improvement districts get to connect instead of working in silos.
And are you wanting to do this with the City of Johannesburg? I mean, what's that agreement looking like?
So the city of Joburg has been, very collaborative. We've signed an MOU with the city of Joburg, which means they are supporting us from, resources and also, getting things done on the ground. we might have, you know, a plan and a blueprint, but we still need to hold hands with people that have been in the city for a long time. And it's amazing the kind of help and support that we're getting, especially from like the managerial level, because there are people who actually, like I said, they really want to get involved and really want to do good and just waiting for that catalyst. And so that's what Jozi My Jozi is, that catalyst that actually puts those kind of like-minded people together and say, okay, cool, what are the plans? What are the ideas? What strategies did you guys try and maybe they didn't work? How can we help you implement some of the strategies? Because our thing is not to create something new. I think there's more than enough solutions that people have tried to do stuff, but maybe it's time for us to look at it through a different lens, a more innovative lens and a more creative lens. And that's why, for me, coming from an advertising background, have built brands both locally and globally, trying to, you know, put the same kind of learnings to how can we build the brand, which is our city of Joburg.
And I see that you want to include quite a bit of artwork as well in the project, right? Landscaping, vibrant murals. I mean, I'm trying to imagine landscaping in an area where, I mean, it's really difficult to grow anything, I suppose, if you are in the Joburg CBD. I mean, how do you execute all of this art installations?
Yeah, so we've got this system called Adopt a Project, right? So we, as Jozi My Jozi, we don't like take money directly from corporates. What we do is we're going to connect you with a project. So, for example, I'll give you a good example, and then we'll go to the art one. So, the Mandela Bridge project, for example. What we knew is we needed to start the Mandela Bridge, help fix the Mandela Bridge, because that was also like our signal of hope, right? And so, together with ABSA, together with the city and PG Glass, we were able to then, you know, put our resources together and fix the bridge. And you know, with something like that, the lights being on, students feeling safer, there's now about 2,000 students that cross the bridge every hour. So a small thing like that, we think like, oh, it's just the lights on the bridge that don't work. But those lights have got a knock-on effect, which is like the safety and security. And then what we're then going to do is that same kind of strategy of adopt a project. We've got the next project called Adopt a Gateway. So the inner city has got about 10, I think, entrances and exits, and all of those are not the most welcoming to go or come out of the inner city. And so working with corporates, once again, each corporate gets to adopt a gateway closer to them. And so then we'll work with artists. You know, the city will look at like, you know, structurally, are the bridges working? And you know, the artists will then come in and then do, you know, wall murals with the colors of the brand. Once again, it shows how we are that connector between a project for good and brands that already have the budgets, whether in the CSI or their marketing. We can link the two, and money goes directly to the project and not necessarily to Jozi My Jozi.